What happens when a U.S. Congresswoman breaks ranks and says something about an African military leader that leaves him reportedly speechless? In a recent House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing, Representative Jasmine Crockett did just that. Her unexpected comments about Burkina Faso's Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a leader who seized power in a coup, sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles and provoked a stunning reaction from Traoré himself. This wasn't the usual script of condemnation. It was something entirely different. Have you ever felt like the official story doesn't quite match the reality on the ground? Do you wonder why certain narratives about global events persist, often overlooking crucial context? The standard diplomatic playbook, especially regarding Africa's relationship with the West, frequently ignores complex histories and the real reasons behind political shifts. Why did Representative Crockett's words cut through the noise? What does this surprising moment reveal about the changing dynamics of global power and influence? If you're tired of predictable headlines and want to understand the real currents shaping international politics, subscribe to Magnificent Story and hit the notification bell. We uncover the stories others miss. To understand the impact of Representative Crockett's words, we must first grasp the situation in Burkina Faso. For years, this West African nation has been ravaged by a brutal jihadist insurgency. Groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State have seized control of nearly 40% of the country, killing thousands and forcing over 2 million people, a staggering 10% of the population, to flee their homes. This security collapse fueled deep frustration with successive governments and their long-standing Western security partners, particularly former colonial power France. Many Burkinabe felt abandoned, watching their country crumble despite years of foreign military presence. Into this crisis stepped Captain Ibrahim Traoré. At just 34 years old, the artillery officer seized power in September 2022, the nation's second coup that year. He immediately adopted a strong anti-colonial stance, blaming external interference for Burkina Faso's problems. His actions were swift and decisive. French troops were ordered out, military agreements were torn up, and Ouagadougou turned towards new partners, primarily Russia, for security assistance. Traoré also forged the alliance of Sahel states with neighboring military governments in Mali and Niger, creating a bloc rejecting Western influence. The stakes couldn't be higher. National survival, the assertion of sovereignty and control over Burkina Faso's considerable mineral wealth, including gold and uranium. The stage for this unusual diplomatic moment was a hearing of the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee, convened to discuss security challenges and Western influence in the Sahel region. The proceedings were expected to follow a familiar script. State Department officials would testify, and committee members would express concerns about democratic backsliding and Russia's growing footprint in West Africa, particularly in nations like Burkina Faso that had experienced recent military takeovers. Most members echoed these standard talking points, criticizing Captain Traoré's government and emphasizing the need for a return to constitutional order. But when Representative Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat from Texas known for her direct style, took the microphone, the conversation shifted dramatically. Instead of joining the chorus of condemnation, Crockett challenged the underlying assumptions. For decades, she stated, Western nations have extracted billions in resources from Burkina Faso while delivering minimal security benefits to ordinary citizens. She questioned the effectiveness of past Western security assistance, pointing out that terrorists still controlled vast swathes of the country. Then came the lines that reverberated far beyond the committee room. Perhaps we should listen more and lecture less, Crockett suggested. She framed Traoré's demands for sovereign control over Burkina Faso's gold, uranium, and manganese not as extremism, but as basic national interest. While colleagues focused on the coup, Crockett focused on the context, a move that broke the diplomatic mold. Reports from the hearing described a palpable shift in the room. Fellow legislators and attending officials appeared visibly surprised, even taken aback by her departure from the established narrative. Crockett wasn't just questioning policy, she was questioning the entire framework through which Washington viewed the region. News of Representative Crockett's remarks traveled quickly to Ouagadougou. According to diplomatic sources and aides present, A transcript of her comments reached Captain Ibrahim Traoré while he was in a high-level security meeting. The initial reaction was reportedly one of sheer disbelief. Traoré, accustomed to sharp criticism from Western capitals, apparently read the transcript several times, questioning its authenticity. An American official actually said this? On the record, he is reported to have asked his advisors, momentarily pausing the security briefing. It was a sentiment so contrary to the usual diplomatic discourse that it seemed almost unbelievable. The confirmation that the remarks were genuine prompted a swift and public response. The following day, during a military ceremony, Captain Traoré directly addressed Crockett's statement. He hailed it as unprecedented and praised her courage to speak truth when others choose comfortable lies. He took care to emphasize that Burkina Faso's struggle was not against the American people or any people, but against an international system that takes our resources while leaving our people in poverty and danger. He concluded with a direct expression of gratitude. I thank Representative Crockett. For a leader facing significant international pressure and diplomatic isolation since taking power, this unexpected acknowledgement from a member of the U.S. Congress, however isolated, was incredibly impactful. It offered a rare moment of external validation for his government's narrative and anti-colonial stance, instantly boosting its legitimacy in the eyes of many Burkinabe and observers across the region. So, why did a few sentences from a U.S. Congresswoman cause such a stir? Because Representative Crockett touched upon deep-seated grievances and complex realities often ignored in diplomatic discussions. Burkina Faso, known as Upper Volta until 1984, carries the heavy weight of its past as a French colony. This history has left lasting marks on its economic structures, creating dependencies that many feel persist today. This leads to a stark paradox. Burkina Faso is Africa's fourth-largest gold producer and possesses significant uranium reserves, yet it remains one of the poorest nations on Earth. For decades, Western companies have extracted immense mineral wealth, but the benefits rarely seem to trickle down to the local population. This fuels a powerful perception of ongoing exploitation, a feeling that the nation's resources enrich others while its own people struggle. Compounding this economic frustration is the undeniable failure of previous security arrangements. Despite years of French and other Western military involvement, the jihadist insurgency didn't just persist. It grew exponentially, consuming more territory and claiming more lives. For ordinary Burkinabe facing daily threats, the promises of Western partners rang hollow. This created an opening for alternatives. Russia stepped in, offering military equipment and advisors rapidly, often without the conditions related to democracy or human rights that frequently accompany Western aid. Moscow presented itself as a partner focused solely on security results, an appealing proposition for a government fighting for survival. When your house is on fire, do you question the firefighters' politics, or do you just want the flames put out? Does this explain the appeal of alternative security partners for nations in crisis? Crockett's comments acknowledged this difficult calculus, validating the frustrations that made Traoré's pivot resonate domestically. The battle for resources and influence in Africa affects global stability. Like this video if you think understanding this context is crucial. What started as a few unexpected sentences in a U.S. congressional hearing became a moment revealing fractures in the standard diplomatic narrative. Representative Crockett's challenge to the usual script regarding Burkina Faso, and Captain Traoré's stunned reaction, highlighted tensions often kept beneath the surface. But this story is far larger than just these two figures. It reflects powerful undercurrents reshaping international relations. The growing assertion of African agency, the rising tide of resource nationalism, the persistent legacy of colonialism, and the intense geopolitical competition playing out across the continent. Understanding these deeper forces is absolutely essential to making sense of modern political trends and the complex realities often hidden behind simple headlines. Don't just follow the headlines, understand the story behind them. Share this video if you found it insightful, and keep following Magnificent Story for more deep analyses of the political forces changing our world.